and we learned about 10 principles or guidelines from the Quran and Sunnah concerning effective learning and memorization. Now that you are going to write your exams, definitely all the principles that we talked about, you should know how to apply it in order to make your learning very effective. My brothers, the 10 principles I earlier on mentioned to you concerning learning, irrespective of the method and the strategy you are using to learn. You see, looking at your age, you are slowly getting concretized. Your method, your style, and your learning profile is slowly getting well formulated, uniquely to yourself. Allah Azza wa Jal tells us in the Quran that all the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam tell them that kullun ya'malu ala shakilatihi. Each and every one of you is working, is progressing, is behaving, is living a life based on a particular natural disposition, based on a particular natural style. Everybody and the way he will pass through to learn and the way you will pass through to live your life. Each and every one of Allah recognizes that one. And then he says that فَرَبُّكُمْ, and it is your Lord, أَعْلَمُ بِمَنْ هُوَ أَهْدَى سَبِيلًا. He knows the one among you who is the best. Who is the best in terms of progression towards Allah Azza wa Jal. So you don't need to look at your friend the way he learns and you are struggling to what? Go and copy the way your friend is learning. No. You have your natural way of learning. You need to discover your natural way of learning. So these principles that I'm going to mention is to guide you to be able to elicit, is to guide you to be able to know what is my natural way of learning. Principle number 1 is what we call the principle of establishment of purpose. Number 2 is what? Planning. Number 3 is preparation. Number 4 is sensory registration. Number 5 is comprehension. Number 6 is organization. Number 7 is over-learning. Then number 8 is repetition and recitation. Number 9 is review. And number 10 is mnemonic techniques. But definitely once you are learning, you use 1 or 2 of these principles in any of the formula that you are using in learning. And today, I'm just going to mention those ones that we are going to use in a strategy. Now, the number 4th one, sensory registration. Okay. Sensory registration. Allah Azza wa Jal tells us in the Quran, Allah Azza wa Jal, He removed us from our mother's womb. And when He removed us from our mother's womb, لا تعلمون شيئا. We knew nothing. We had existing programs within us. Some were by reflex, but we had no experience within us. لا تعلمون شيئا. Otherwise, the reflex accents, we had them. But in our file, it was what? Empty. We didn't use those reflex actions. We knew how to suck the breast of our mom. Every child, when we are giving birth to, they will know how to suck the breast. Do you understand? But in the file of the child, there was what? Nothing. That is what in education they call tabula satura. It's what? Empty. Empty this thing. So, la ta'lamuna shay'a. You knew nothing. So for you to learn, Allah said, وَجَعَلَ لَكُمُ السَّمْعَ. Then He created for you what? The hearing system. The hearing system. Al-absara, and then also the visual system. Then He said, وَالْأَفْئِذَا. And you are feeling what? Center. You are feeling center. What is the feeling center? You find in the Quran, قُلْ هُوَ الَّذِي أَنْشَأَكُمْ وَجَعَلَ لَكُمُ السَّمْعَ وَالْأَبْصَارَ وَالْأَفْئِدَةَ. You find in so many places in the Quran, وَالْأَبْصَارَ وَالْأَفْئِدَةَ وَالْأَبْصَارَ وَالْأَفْئِدَةَ. السَّمْعُ وَالْأَبْصَارَ وَالْأَفْئِدَةَ. That is the hearing system, visual system, and the feeling system. It's only in one place that Allah Azza wa Jal to explain to us what the af'ida, the center of feeling, means. That is our heart. To explain to us the connections, Allah Azza wa Jal over there uses the body or the skin. Surah Al-Fussilat, sorry, Quran chapter 41, verse what? 20. Surah Al-Fussilat. Allah Azza wa Jal tells us over there that Hatta idha ma ja'uha, not until the non-believers, when judgment is passed and they are brought closer to the hellfire and they doubt the judgment of Allah Azza wa Jal, then Allah Azza wa Jal will let testify against them. Shahida alayhim, he will let testify against them. Sam'uhum, their visual, their auditory system. Wa absaruhum, then their visual system. Then Allah didn't say wal afida, but he said wajuluduhum, and then also their body. The summary is that in the University of Santa Cruz in California in 1972 up to 1993, two professors, Professor Richard Bandler and John Grinder, they came together to ask themselves, why is it that the same classroom, look at all of you, you are in the same environment, there is air conditioning, everything, the same thing. The same person is talking to you, but at the end of it all, when we conduct exams, some of you will fail and some of you will pass. What is the difference that creates the difference between the successful people and the failure? These two professors, Richard Bandler and John, they started their what? Research. They took very renowned psychologists like Virginia Satir, Milton Erickson, so many other people. Once you are successful in life, they take you and take your other colleagues and compare you to see the difference. And the end of the difference that they saw was that they said the difference is between the way we use our mind. That's all. The difference is between. So they went into details to look at what affects our usage of our mind. If some of you will get aggregate 6, some will get distinction, some may not get. The only difference is the way you use what? Your mind. That is what Professor Richard Bandler and John Grinder is telling us. And they concluded, they went to look at why is it that we use our mind separately and differently. Why? Why? Then they realized that we use them separately that way because we have varied ways of using the sense organs. What are the sense organs? We have the eyes, we have the ears, we have what? The skin or the body, we have what? The nose, and we have what? The tongue. These sense organs, the way we blend them and use them, it affects the way we use our mind. They are the windows through which whatever changes within our environment, the fluctuations in sound, and then the difference in temperature, and then the difference in the lightning system over here that you are experiencing here, how you understand it is based on these 5 sense organs. You know them already, is that not it? But in their conclusion, in their finding, they now went forward to see why is there difference. Because you have eyes, I have eyes, you have ears, I have also ears, you have the body, you have the nose, you have the tongue. Why do we understand separately and differently? They went into details again. Then some of their conclusions. Conclusion number 1. They said some of the sense organs can learn independently. And those that can learn independently, they are the eyes, the ears, and the body. They can learn independently. The nose and then also the tongue, they can learn with the support of what the other. It means when you enter into the classroom, the basic resource that you need to learn, and for this WAEC, the basic thing you need to learn is what? Your eye, your ear, and what? Your body. These are the basic things. And remember, when we talked about the principle of sensory registration, the principle over there was that the principle of sensory registration for effective learning states that anytime you are going to learn, endeavor to use all the sensory organs in the learning process. For the sensory organ that you use in learning is different from the sensory organ that you use in reproducing the thing. According to Professor Rexike, he said when your teacher is teaching, the one you use in what? Listening and understanding the teacher is different from the one that you will use in answering what? WAEC. And the one that you use in doing your preps is different from the one that you use in answering what? WAEC. So if you don't use all the sense organ to take part in the learning process, you will learn and know, but when it gets to WAEC, you find it very difficult to produce the answers. You can't remember. Why? Because you use one sense organ to learn, and then you are now struggling to use another sense organ to remember or to retrieve. So the principle is that anytime you are learning, you have to ensure that you use all the sense organs. And that is what Surah Al-Fussilat also tells us, that when you forget, your ear will help you to remember. Your eye will help you to remember. Your skin will help you to remember. Your body will help you to remember. So, hatta idha ma ja'uha shahida alayhim sam'uhum, your hearing system, wa absaruhum, your visual system, wa juluduhum, and then your kinesthetic system. They are those ones that are going to help you. So today, the strategy I'm going to give you, one of the principles that we shall be using a lot is the principle of what? Sensory registration. Is that okay? I mentioned the 10 principles, but I said it's only those ones that I am going to use is the one I'm going to. Another principle that I also mentioned, سَنُقُرِئُكَ فَلَا تَنْسَى, that is the principle of recitation and repetition. 1,400 years ago, there were certain things that the Quran mentioned, but we didn't. The Quran told us that in order not to let you forget, سَنُقُرِئُكَ, we shall let you read. So that what? فَلَا تَنْسَى, so that you don't forget. Why? That principle states that سَنُقْرِئُكَ, we shall let you recite over and over again, فَلَا تَنْسَى, so that you don't forget. So the more you repeat something, the more you recite something, the easier you are able to remember it in the future. Why? You see, we have the sensory neurons. If something happens within the environment, the sensory neurons will get affected. So there will be some kind of chemical change. Like I touch this table, there will be some kind of pain and some sound. The sensory neurons by my hand and the sensory neurons by my ears. My ear will pick the sound and my hand will pick the pain. Then the sensory neuron will take it through the axon, the body of the neuron. It will get to another connecting neuron in order to carry it to the brain, but there will be a gap. There will be a gap over there. So when that electrical impulses get to the end of that neuron, to enable it move to another neuron, it needs something to help it do that one. And that is what we call neurotransmitters. We have different types of neurotransmitters. Okay? You don't need to know them. Just know that there is something in between the two neurons. There is something to help one electrical impulses here to move to the other one. And the concentration of that thing will affect your remembrance later on. If I tell you something here to recite, when that impulses get to the gap, it will produce some chemicals or what we call the neurotransmitters and depot them over. Tomorrow, if you want to remember, it depends on the concentration of the neurotransmitters. That will show whether you will remember it or not. And then the pattern that same stimulus will pass, whether it will pass through the same pattern or it won't pass through the same pattern. The summary is that it was discovered that the more you repeat something, the more a specific type of neurotransmitter for a specific path will be produced more and deposited more at the synapses. So that anytime you have the same stimulus and you want to remember the meaning of that one, remembering it becomes very easier for you. So all that I'm trying to tell you that any learning process you are using, be ready to repeat and repeat over and over again. Your mind is like a library. Any new thing at all that you learn, you have to enter into the library and file it. If you have a library and you bring so many books into the library and you throw them away, you don't arrange the books. Next time when you come back to look for a book, will it be easier for you to find? No. So the principle of organization tells us that when you learn the knowledge, you have to find a unique way of filing the knowledge in your mind so that you don't forget. You need to know how to organize the knowledge a lot in your mind. After organizing the thing and putting it in your mind, you need to use what we call mnemonic techniques. A technique that will help you anytime they just say something concerning that particular thing, then one word will come to your mind. One thing will come to your mind. And through that thing, you will be able to remember all what the rest. I believe at least you were taught acrostics. That is how to use a sentence to remember. So even at JHS level, sometimes they teach you. Using sentences to remember. Then we also have acronyms. Okay? Acronyms. You just bring some few letters together and you'll be able to remember all the. And you have what? Rhymes. Okay? You just put something, H-A-H-E-L-I, H-A-H-E-L-I, B-E-B-C. What is that? And some will also say, hello, hello. What do you say? Huh? So the hello, hello is acrostics. And H-A-H-E-L-I is what? Rhymes. Mnemonic techniques are ways of struggling to simplify, give a unique code that is known to only you, so that if you want to remember, you can remember what? Everything. So among the 10 principles, those ones that we are going to use in this technique that I'm coming to teach you is the principle of preparation, the principle of sensory registration, the principle of organization, repetition and recitation, and mnemonic techniques. The rest we are not going to use. So what is our strategy? When you take a book and you put it down, how are you going to learn, my brothers? How are you going to learn? The learning techniques. Psq Learning Strategy. That is what we want to learn today. Psq Learning Strategy. Okay? We have the power learning strategy. We have the method learning strategy. Different. But we want to use the PSQR learning strategy. PSQR learning techniques is normally for reading. Personal reading. PSQR, you have taken your book, you've sat down and you want to what? Read and understand and go and write WAEC. That is when you use what? The PSQR learning what? Techniques.